Welcome. Today we're going over Dr. Stuart McGill's, what he calls the Big Three. Dr. Stuart McGill tested a bunch of exercises to see which ones turned on the core the most. And you know, after hundreds, if not thousands, of exercises that he tried, he came down to what he calls the Big Three, right? And they are a bird dog, side plank, and what he calls a modified curl up, right? Which is what we're going to go over today. So the reason for the Big Three is because you have basically three ways of the core, three directions, if you want to call it, right? We have the front, the back, and the sides. By doing this Big Three, you're hitting the core in all three of those ways, right? The front, the back, the sides. So starting, we'll start with the back side. So we're going to go bird dogs. So bird dogs are pretty simple exercise. We're going to start on all fours, right? So quadruped position. I want my knees under my hips and my hands or my wrists underneath my shoulders. Toes are tucked, so they're digging into the ground. From here, I'm going to go opposite hand, opposite leg. So it's reaching out. It's reaching out and extending. So I'm going to go left hand and right leg is reaching out. And notice I'm trying to push my hand away from my heel. I'm not just like lazy right here. I'm extending through my hand and through my heel, trying to be as flat and as straight as possible. Right? And then I'm going to come back, alternating sides. And notice I don't arch my back, right, or move my spine at all. So this is solid, right? I'm like a pillar, right? Very strong right here. Everything else is moving, right? So once again, kicking through my heels, expanding through my upper back and into my hand. Right. Now it's pretty crucial that we really kick through our heel and turn our glute on, right? And extend through our upper back and stretch out this lat, right? By doing that the crossbody distraction, right? We're using the muscles of the upper body to pull the spine upward, and then we're going to use the muscles on the polar opposite side on the lower body, right? The glutes, the hamstrings, the calves, thinking about pushing through the heel, and that's going to distract or pull the spine, you know, like going downward. So you have your upper body pulling up and your lower body pulling down, so that way we can get a little bit of distraction, right, or decompression in the spine. From the side, right, opposite hand, opposite leg, kicking straight out, not here, right, I'm kicking through my heel and I'm expanding through my upper back. So not just here, right, and then expand. Now, one thing with the lower back, right, I don't want to arch here, right, because if I think about rain, right, is the same as gravity, right? Rain falls with gravity, right? So if I am a tabletop and I'm right here and it's raining and I have a flat back, the rain is going to flow off of it, right? It's not going to collect because it's even. The minute I do this, right, all that rain or pressure, right, gravitational force, is going to collect in the low back, right? We don't want to add pressure to the low back. We want to decrease pressure. So we're going to stretch our low back, right, decreasing and lengthening the spine. So we're lengthening the spine, which decreases pressure, as opposed to doing this arching, and right here we're compressing our spine, adding pressure. A lot of spinal injuries are due to compression, right? So we try not to add any more compression than we have to. So those are the bird dogs, right? Opposite hand, opposite leg. Once they get easy, we can start to hold them for longer periods of time. All right, next is the side plank. So fixing you. So everyone knows the good old side plank. Just a couple of cues that I like to go over. Once again, elbow underneath the shoulder. I don't want to be back here. I don't want to be so far over it. I want my joints to be stacked. Right, so I got elbow underneath the shoulder. With my feet, right? A lot of people teach like foot on top of foot. The only problem with this is like all of my body weight is now on my bottom knee. So I have a lot of pressure in my knee, the joint. To kind of displace that pressure throughout the body, I'm just gonna go ahead and put my top foot in front. So I'm kicking my top and my bottom foot together, right? So heel into my toes. That way it's like one big foot pressing all together into the ground. So it's not like two separate feet, it's one big foot pressing my heels into my toes and both of them are pushing into the ground. Now I'm sharing that pressure between both of my legs, both of my knees. And this also keeps the hips square or stacked. I want my hips stacked, right? The minute I do my top foot behind, now I open up my hips. So my hips are open that way. If I'm foot on top of foot, my hips are stacked, which is a good thing. We just put a lot of pressure in the knee. So the best thing would be foot in front of foot. So that way, no pressure in the knees, my hips are stacked, and it keeps me in a nice straight line. So from here, all right, I'm just raising my hips off of the ground, and this top hand is gonna press to the ceiling. So I wanna pretend like I'm holding like a 100-pound dumbbell, right? I can't be lazy and let the dumbbell crush me. I have to expand, like I'm trying to touch the ceiling, right? So I'm actively trying to push this elbow away from this hand, right? So it's not compressing. Once again, we're lengthening through the upper body. I'm trying to spread my scapula away from each other, right? So elbows going into the ground. This hand is trying to reach the ceiling. So I'm spreading, right? I'm not just lazy right here. So from the front side, I should be in a nice straight line. Elbow under the shoulder, hips on top of hips, top foot in front of the bottom foot, right? Lifting the hips up, pressing to the sky, and I'm trying to get my hands away from my elbow. So I'm not here. And that is what we call an active side plank. We're not lazy just sitting here. We're actively trying to stretch. We're actively trying to build and use those muscles. Same thing as the bird dogs, right? Once that becomes easy, just start to do it longer and longer and longer. So that was the back side. We did, well that was the sides, right? So we did the back side first. We did our bird dogs. So those hits calves, hamstrings, glutes, right? All the way up to posterior chain into the lats, upper back, traps, all that. We just did the sides, right? Obliques. So we're kind of working our way around to the front, to the the core, what most people think. And now the front side. So modified curl ups. So we're gonna go one leg down and one foot up. Laying down. And naturally, if you're laying on the ground, like you're gonna have this arch in your low back, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place hand on top of hand underneath my back, so it's like this, right? So hand on top of hand. So that way, you'll see, like you're gonna be trying to press your back into the ground, and your hands will feel that pressure. So it's just it's a way to know if you're doing this properly, right? It's like a self-test or a self-check. So I'm going hand on top of hand, just laying on top of my hands. So from here, I want to think about like from my shoulders to the top of my head is on a scale, right? Maybe the scale says like 10, 12 pounds, whatever it is. I don't want to take my head and shoulders off of the scale. I want them to remain in contact with the scale or the ground, but I just want it to say 0. So I want to just be hovering, right here. So see how when I engage my core, I push my low back into the ground, right, or into my hands, and then my head and my shoulders, my upper back, gently just hover over the ground. And if you notice, I'm starting to shake, right? It's kind of hard to hold this position and talk, but you can even hear it in my voice, right? So from here, I'm really engaging my core, right? I'm not, I'm not like, it's not a joke. Like I'm actually engaging my core. Like that simple little exercise does a lot. What I'll generally do is do it for like 10 seconds, like 10-second holds, and I'll do anywhere from like 5 to 10 each side, right? And probably like 3 rounds of that, like 3 rounds of all of them together, right? And then don't forget we're gonna switch our feet, right? And same thing, we're gonna hold, we're gonna engage our core by pushing my low back into my hands, and then that's gonna keep, let my head rise
right? Just gently off of the ground. I still want a little contact with the ground. I don't want to be off of the ground, right? Just a little bit of engagement, right? So I'm pushing that low back into the ground.
Those are the McGill Big 3. Like I said, those are the 3 best exercises to help heal and recover your low back, right? To manage your low back pain. And this is not from me, right? This is from Dr. Stuart McGill, who has done, you know, like I said, he has tested thousands of exercises, and he's narrowed it down to these 3. Turn on and build your core, right, and the surrounding muscles of your spine the best. So give that a shot. If you guys need any help, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, as always, you know where to find me. Peace.